schools or something, so they can provide the service on our platform. So then we get commission from them. So this is a win-win platform. This is a win-win business model. So for our subscribers, they can enjoy free or affordable services on our platform. And then for service providers, they can reach to large number of subscribers at a low cost. For OPay, as a service, as a platform provider, so we get commissions. So this is a totally different business model compared to the commercial banks. So then we can, because we can see there are differences. So firstly, for fintech like OPay, so with a large clients, we have large client base, and we have a very frequent transactions, but with low value transactions. Then at the same time, they have a lot of different scenarios to make payment, like to pay for your data, to pay for your school fee, pay for electricity. So this one involved a big amount of transactions. So which requires a large big data processing capacities. Then secondly, is a full online transaction. Like all from the onboarding, transaction, or disputing, everything is online. So which we ask us for the AML safety, everything is online. Then thirdly, the value of a single customer is relatively low. So which requires the cost of AML, it should be low on average, which need to ask for more system integration. Then the last, the customer's loyalty is also low, because they can easily to migrate their service to another platform. So when we make AML or safety, we also need to consider about the customer's experience very well. Based on the above difference, so the risk control model in fintech is differ from fintech. It differ from commercial banks. For example, for banks, they maintain physical branches where customer identities can be done there. They can be physically authenticated. These authentications, including fingerprint or signing, some physical copies for opening accounts, and when they are do transactions with large amount of transactions, they may call customers for confirmation. But for fintech, it's totally different, where everything is online. So which requires us there's no it's therefore necessary for fintech to deploy online real-time multi-level controls on the authenticate users and ensure that transactions are in line with customers' behavior and transactions. So this is different risk control strategies. So based on the strategies, so we are built a cloud-based end-to-end risk control system with 4 different distinct level system. So the first layer is for system security. It's centralized for ourselves, like customers' app, websites, system, or endpoints. So then the second level is for identity authentication. So this one will make sure when the customer onboarding, who the customer is, who they claim it to be. Then for the third layer, it's risk assessment. So this level will, based on verification and profiling of different rule based on factor such as customer personal information or behavior patterns or transaction patterns. Then the fourth layer is risk control decision. So this stage requires a dynamic balance between the mitigation the risks and also maintain a good customer experience. So this one is also a full process risk control system. So firstly, we can say it's from R&D stage. We need to fully consider and anticipate various risks and put forward. And put forward. Then second, in the process of use, we need to do the monitoring. So do a monitoring and a regular checking. Then for the third layer, when the risk occur, we need to conduct timely defense and avoid further losses. Then we need to do the system. Then we need to comprehensively consider risks and customer experience or management. So which is the first part, compliance and audit management. Then for the last, so we also need to incident response protocol. If the issues happen, what can we do? How can we respond fast? So then this is on this consideration. So what's our system is look like? Oh, sorry. So we built three platforms: compliance platform, real-time risk control platform, and also risk management platform. For firstly, the compliance, I think we think compliance is the foundation for all the works. Without the compliance, everything you have to do is nothing. Then for the real-time risk control platform, so we are consider about the risk control and the system stability. Then for the last, for the risk management platform, it assures OP users of the safety of their funds and ensures they can have access for OP services safely. So this is how it look like. Then, yeah. So following the analysis of our customer behavior and the transaction patterns, we have configured over 3,500 online real-time monitoring features and over 1,000 offline features. And we also have more than 100 high-risk feature combination and built over 5,000 risk strategies and models to effectively identify the high-risk behavior. So to ensure the system to run smoothly, so we have invested a lot for the technical resource, which can help us to support 100,000 calculations per second and 100 million calculations per day. So also our risk controls is past all the customer circle from onboarding to the onboarding. Users are approved only after meeting the strict requirements. Then after customer onboarding, so we are using AI and big data to monitor and analyze the transactions and the customer behavior in real time and take actions. Then after we identify, so there are also will be actions will be protect customer funds and they will take actions. The last, after customer log off, so we are still to study these cases and to make sure we can update our system all the time. So this is how the transaction behavior goes on. So our risk control system also analyze the entire customer behavior from login to transactions. Checking continuous to be done. We are identify the risks on each stage. So if we are considering, okay, this one is a no risk, we just release the transaction on every stage. So if a middle risk, we are ask more authentications. So for example, for BVN or NIN or face verification and some combinations. If the risk is high, so we just simply stop it and to stop the transaction. So, yeah. The models are not static and involve continuously as we identify new risks and the patterns. We have also introduced the latest AI and machine learning technologies to automatically adjust the scenario in the system to identify the new fraud patterns. So this is what we have done. Then at the last part, I want to show you some, this is some screenshots of real-time compliance monitoring. So it will be flashed, how to say, will be refreshed every 30 seconds. So then with this system, we can see all the data. Where is the fraud case and how is the data and something like that. This is the second, is another one. So the second one is a real-time location risk monitoring. So with this one, we can see at a glance to see where the system, where the risk come from. We update our system in December 2023. So after that, we can see the fraud cases have significant drops. It reduced 50%, especially for top-up fraud cases. It has been reduced for more than 60%. Then at the same time, so our system active defense capacities also have been significantly improved. So we can see the fraud case, the fraud transactions we rejected increased 300%. Then at the same time, we also screened out more than 20,000 illegal BVN and NINs and frozen them before the fraud case happened. Then also we have stopped 10,000 transactions have been stopped for the high investment scheme. So we have protect our customer funds. So that's all. I know there's no end for AML and the CFT journey. As we improve, so do our enemies. So OP will continue to improve our technical capacity and to have a better results. And we also we are willing to work with our industry partners because this one we need to work together, and then there's no place for these criminals for heading the financial system. That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Justin Zhang, the Chief Public Affairs Officer at OPE. You want to do better with the round of applause. You know they're OPE, they deal with money. They might just say, you know, that guy is clapping well, come and take 5 million. Okay, he's just set the tone for this panel session we're about to have. And the session is sponsored by one of our major sponsors here at the Digital Pay Expo, OPE. It's titled Fraud and Cybersecurity. This is the Fraud and Cybersecurity Forum. The theme is Building a Fraud Resilient Ecosystem. Now, with rising digital adoption comes an equally rapid evolution of cyber threats. This session is both timely and essential. We'll now explore how regulation, real-time risk intelligence, and stakeholder Collaborations are building a more secure digital economy across Africa. Now, guiding this strategic conversation is the Chief Compliance Officer at OPay, whose experience spans risk, governance, and enterprise security frameworks. He will be joined for this, in this high-stakes dialogues by a high-powered panel. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome the Chief Compliance Officer at OPay, Chukudima Uche Chuku. You could do better. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Sitting on all existing protocols. So let's ask ourselves, who knows anyone who has ever been a victim of fraud or a victim of an email hack or WhatsApp hack and led to funds being lost? Is there anyone who has had such as either personally or we know someone? So basically all of us. Also, who has ever had the experience of maybe you want to do a transaction and you're unable to complete it, maybe because your phone is not with you, you can't get the OTP, and it also leads to frustration of some sort. Have we ever been in those positions? So we can see that there are two sides of the spectrum. In as much as we want to stop these frauds, and we also want to ensure that customer service is not negatively impacted. So that's just setting the tone for this panel discussion. So we're going to be talking about building a fraud resilient ecosystem. We should also note that for every successful fraud, it means that the criminals have more funds to invest in more technologies, because believe me, they do things like this also. They have sessions where they are improving on their methods. So without further ado, I want to welcome the panelists. So first of all, I'll be calling the Director of Payment System Supervision Department of Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Rukayat Yusuf. She's ably represented by the Deputy Director, Adebule Olugbenga Benson. Please welcome him today. Please, let's give him a round of applause as he takes his seat. Okay, next, we want to also welcome Mr. Ajibade Laolu Adewale. He's the chairman of Committee of E-Business Industry Heads in Nigeria. Please, let's give him a round of applause. Okay, next, we also want to welcome Mr. Olufemi Sojiri. He's the acting head of Industry Fraud Desk at Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems (NIBS). Please welcome him as he comes to the stage. Okay, so for the fourth panelist, please welcome Mr. Festus Amede. He's the Chief Information Security Officer of Zenith Bank PLC. Please give an applause. Okay, thank you, everyone. So I would like to start this off with the director from CBN. So we know that regulations is key. For regulating financial systems are regulated. We've had regulations today a lot. So I just want to ask the question, what role do compliance with regulations play in mitigating frauds and cybersecurity threats?
Thank you. When we talk about regulation, it's like it serves two purposes. One, on one hand, it tells you this is how to operate the system. These are the do's and don'ts. And on the other hand, it provides safety measures. So in any system, whether the digital pay system or any system, not complying with those measures means you are running a risk of loss or the system not doing what you ought to do. For instance, CBN has put in place some regulations that has to do, for example, with ID, the digital ID, the BVN by CBN, and the NIN by the Nigerian Communication Commission. These are put in place to ensure that identity theft is, if not stopped, prevented. So when people come to the system, if somebody is able to adhere to those regulations or complying with those things that have been put in place, you discover that it makes fraud difficult, if not impossible. But the issue we have with our compliance is that if there is no proper enforcement of regulations on the part of the regulator, or the operators are not complying with rules that have been put in place, you discover that regulations will not work. And that's why the CBN goes out from time to time to examine the books and records of operators, like the fintechs, the payment service banks. We go around to check their books from time to time to ensure that they are complying with the rules and regulations that have been put in place. The operators themselves are also expected to make sure that their customers also comply. For example, banks do send alerts that don't share your BVN with anybody. If a customer compromises that, there is nothing that regulation can achieve. So regulation plays a very, very, very critical role in preventing fraud. In the sense that, for example, we also have regulation from the Nigerian Communication Commission. For example, there is this Data Protection Act that have been put in place to protect the privacy of customer, such that if a fintech is opening an account for a customer, they are using the phone number and some other information from the customer. They are expected to protect that, such that fraudsters cannot use that information. But if the person only that information is not protecting it, what do you expect regulation to do? So regulation plays a critical role, but enforcement is key. If there's no enforcement of regulation, if there's no compliance with those regulations, then you discover that the objective will not be achieved and fraud will still continue. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much for that insightful response. So I want to direct the next question to Mr. Ajibade. So we've talked about regulation. So what strategies can enterprises implement to build a fraud-resilient ecosystem? And how can enterprises stay ahead of emerging threats in fraud and cybersecurity?
Okay, thank you, Chooks, for that question. You know, there is no one size fits all for this. You have to combine different strategies from technology to processes and culture. An organization can build segregation of duties where we implement full, what do I call it, authorization. There's maker, checker for everything we do on our system. There's regular audits, like the director has mentioned, and we have documented policies and procedures in place such that in case a staff leaves the organization, the processes will still continue. There is also the issue of ethical culture, where we ensure that we enforce ethical behavior among our people. We don't just believe that, okay, they are supposed to do well and do good by the organization, even though that's an expectation. We need to create processes and procedures that will monitor such. Then there is the use of technology. We listened to the presentation by Justin, who did a very good job, fantastic job, explaining how OPay has been able to reduce fraud. I remember the horrible outlook the organization had before, but it's impressive to see how they have used technology to scale down the level of fraud within the space of 1.5 years, as explained in his presentation. So we have to keep doing digital scoring for every of our customers. Then control is continuous. We don't just say because we are putting some measures in place and so therefore fraud is zero rated. We have to continuously learn, continuously monitor, and continuously appraise, like you have shown. Then there's the issue of the comprehensive fraud risk assessment. I saw that in his presentation. I actually had to note that down to say organizations, precisely financial institutions, need to reappraise their enterprise fraud-based monitoring tools and strategy. Then there's the issue of training as well. We have to train ourselves internally. We also need to train our customers as well. Because most times, innocent Nigerians are so gullible. They click on any link, they review the code from every church WhatsApp groups, you know yourself, all of you, and they also forward as much as possible to themselves. So all those kind of things, we have to put them in place, and it is the responsibility of our responsibility as financial service providers to educate our customers on all of these things so that they can be aware. No matter how much fraud platforms that you have built internally to safeguard your customers, if you don't train your customers to be the vigilantes of their own accounts, then you probably may just be subjecting yourself to higher risk, because if they are gullible to review the credentials on their account, there's almost nothing you can do as a financial institution. But I like what OPIA has done with fraud management things. It looks at one of those things we also did in Alert that time. Today, on Alert, even when you do any transaction, you don't expect to get an OTP. We will do biometrics verification for you. And when you take a picture on Alert, it automatically syncs that picture with the picture on your BVN and NIN. It ensures that you are the right person. Even if you are not getting OTP, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't even send you OTP in the first instance. It tells you to take a picture of yourself and it reviews it, reviews it with what it has on the system using some AI technology, So I think with those strategies, enterprise can ensure that they have guided their customers and build a secured ecosystem for their clients. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I just want to ride on those things you've mentioned and direct the next question to Femi. So Femi, I'll say, what are some of the emerging trends and threats in fraud that we are seeing, and how can organizations mitigate these measures?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizers for putting this very laudable discussion together. NIBS is always very happy that the industry is working together, because collaboration is one of the biggest fight back that you can, or response you can have to fraud. So in responding to your question, in understanding how you can respond to fraud, you need to be able to analyze data. One of the things that working with the CBN that NIBS has put in place is a fraud reporting portal. The fraud reporting portal allows all licensed entities report fraud in the database. And what we do with this data is we analyze the data and understand patterns. From what we can see, one of the biggest trends in fraud is social engineering. I think my colleague had already spoken about it. Phishing emails, malware, identity theft, and all sorts of social engineering techniques are used to extract identity data from unknowing customers, and that is used to perpetrate fraud. We also have an emerging trend known as fraud as a service. What fraud as a service does, it even gives the ability of lesser skilled individuals to perpetrate fraud, because what happens is skilled fraudsters are now build tools as well as identity theft and sell them on the dark web, which means any Tom, Dick, and Harry now can go to the dark web, purchase these tools, and start to perpetrate fraud. So it's very important that we all stay very close to our identity. Now, how can organizations fight back fraud? I would recommend 4 basic approaches. One is implementing a framework that my security colleagues will call defense in depth. Defense in depth means you have to secure every layer of your architecture, starting from your endpoint, which are your laptops or desktops, your mobile phones, and what have you. You need to ensure you secure that layer. You need to ensure that at the network level, you implement all the necessary security tools to ensure that you are safe. You need to ensure that at the infrastructure level, your servers, you need to ensure that you implement security tools. At the database level as well, you need to ensure that you implement a lot of encryption tools. The second method I would say organizations should use is adhering to standards. Another thing that the CBN have been very good at doing is advising on standards that organizations should comply to. So you have your ISO standards, you have your PCI DSS standard, and you also have standards for API connectivity like your OWASP. Now, those standards allow you to easily incorporate into your processes things that you can do to support security. The third thing I would say is fraud management tools. The CBN as well as NIBS have also released a lot of compliance processes that you need to go through to ensure that you're able to communicate or transact successfully within the ecosystem by ensuring that you implement AI or ML-enabled fraud tools. The speed of fraud and the fraudster, I recall one of the presenters had said, the fraudsters are actively working together, collaborating, and building tools that they use to infiltrate fraud. We need to do exactly the same thing and move from being defensive to attack, right? Protect our infrastructure, chase fraudsters, and arrest fraudsters if required. Now, these fraud tools are expensive. We know that, and one of the things that NIBS has done is to provide a centralized fraud management tool that as a service that you can subscribe to. These tools allow you analyze your data and respond to fraud-related data proactively, right? So, and lastly, I think it was Adiba that spoke about awareness. I think at a minimum, you must always continue to educate your staff, educate your customers to ensure that they are aware of the things that are happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to use your last sentence and direct the next question at Mr. Festus. So, Mr. Festus, what are some of the effective practices among our customers or consumers?
All right, thank you. And let me first of all appreciate the organizers of this event. And what we are speaking to this afternoon is very, very important because a lot of people have fallen victim of fraudulent or malicious activity. And the issue of awareness, very, very important. But the major challenge is that awareness, being what it is, also is subject to failure. Awareness is as good as man. Right from the Garden of Eden, that was when awareness started. When God also told Adam and Eve not to eat the forbidden fruit. And at the end of the day, what happened? They ended up eating the fruit. And it's happening today. Banks are using every medium to tell customers, do not click on a phishing link, do not respond to a fraudulent call, and people are responding. So how can we make this awareness more effective so that we can protect our hard-earned income? One, we have to be consistent. We have to make sure that consistently we are preaching that message so that it can sink. Then we also have to be targeted. There, you see, when sending awareness, I don't need to inform an elderly man in the village who has never received any email not to click a phishing link. Rather, I can respond to such person based on the circumstances they have in their environment. Awareness is to everyone, right from even the management of the board of any organization, even to the developers, and even to the security folks themselves. We need to understand the tactics. We need to understand what are fraudsters doing and how can we be prepared. And should things also fail, because like I said, it's bound to fail, we must also have adequate controls in place to ensure that we have visibility. Thank God for artificial intelligence and driving it further to generative artificial intelligence with Gen AI. which we also look at the details, the logs, the details you have in your environment, and should be able to predict what could happen next. Most importantly, we mentioned the issue of collaboration also, because when fraud happens, how quickly we respond is very, very important. So ensuring that we respond very, very fast, should there be any incident, is also very, very key. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, I just want to ask you just the next question. We know the banking sector is seen to be very competitive, especially with respect to getting deposits. So, but are there collaborative measures between banks to protect customers who may have maybe lost funds through fraud? Are there any measures that banks cooperate? Is there any way they do that?
Sure, there are measures, and I think Nives also spoke to it partly. Today, we have fraud desks in all the financial institutions. And in case you don't know, if you know the domain of any financial institution, just say fraud desk at that domain. The mail will get to the fraud desk. And whenever there's a fraud in the industry, this fraud desk ensure that this message is circulated so that we can respond quickly. One, to ensure that if the money moves from one bank, from bank A to bank B will be able to place that account on post-no debit so that the money can be preserved. But if you delay, I think most of the challenges is that some customer does not want to also come out openly to say, this is what happened. If customer can sincerely come out to say, oh, I made a mistake, and please help me to recover this fund, the bank will respond, and I can assure you that if it's within the, say, 5-10 minutes, you are likely going to get all the fund secured. But when you don't respond on time, then we are helpless, because what you are going to see is that even when those mails are sent, you just be hearing that, oh, fund has been fully utilized. So there's cooperation at that level. Then at the CISO committee level, which I'm also a member, we also have a group. As soon as it happens, we also circulate among our forum to say, hey, this has happened. These are the banks that the fraudsters, these are the account numbers the fraudsters are using, because they use more than, at times, they use many banks. They use more than one account. So we also circulate it among ourselves to ensure that we block, those accounts are blocked to prevent losses. Then a lot is being done. A lot is being done. Some of it, just to ensure that we reduce the fraud to the member, because we have to build trust. We have to make sure that the money that people have worked very hard to earn are preserved. The other time we had a conference and we had a valuable discussion with Interpol, cybercrime, the police, cybercrime department in police, and we also have a WhatsApp group where we also communicate among ourselves between the CISOs of financial institutions, not just the bank, even the fintechs and Nigerian police. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to hear that when it comes to protection of customer funds, there is no competition within the financial system. Thank you very much for that assurance. So, Mr. Ajibade, I want to direct the next question at you. So, what role can innovation and research play in developing new solutions to combat fraud in the industry?
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, let me first comment on what my brother Festus mentioned. Festus is the chairman of information security officers in licensed financial institutions, so he's a very big man. And I like that analogy that even when God told Adam, my brother, don't eat anything, himself and Eve still went to eat apple. So even when we tell customers, don't click on this, don't put this one there, they will still do it. Customers, why are you behaving like this? That's one. Two, we will continue to attempt to protect you, and we will use innovation and research to get that done. Tomorrow on Thursday, there's a fire drill. Some of the things he has mentioned that he doesn't want to say in public, I will help him say some of them in public. So if you know any fraudster, is your brother, is your neighbor, tell him that he should change, because the people that will catch him, they are here. and development will let us identify emerging threats. You think the current fraud is WhatsApp fraud. And so if you have killed that, that will be all. Fraudsters are not sleeping. We stop fraud to the various minimum. So research and innovation will help us identify emerging threats. Research and innovation will also allow us to build today. If something happens to your account, the first thing you'll be doing is to be looking for the bank, your bank, to call your bank. Excuse me, they've defrauded my account. And then your bank will go to a WhatsApp group or to a group and say, excuse me, they've stolen money from my customer's account, and they put it inside this account number. If it is, the money is going into an account like OPay. OPay has built technologies and identification around their system to study behavior, so they can help you trap that automatically. If it is another bank that is not alert, maybe the money will slip through and the fraudster will quickly steal the money. And that's manual, because your bank has to get in touch with that other bank manually. Please help me block this account. Let's assume that the fraud happened on a Friday, 8 p.m. You know that the person that will block the account might be at the club just entering. You are in trouble. But with research and innovation, we can build technology that is human independent, that can automatically, once you say, this my account is defrauded, what the system does is within 3 seconds, even if the fraudsters, because what the fraudsters do, when they steal from bank A, they move to bank B, and from bank B, they distribute to bank C, D, E, F. Before all of you have started looking for that money, they've distributed it to bank E, F, G, H. So you are looking for the next person. Who do you know in Lutus Bank? Who do you know in Providence Bank? Who do you know in Parallels Bank? You know, so you are looking for who do you know first before you can stop that fraud. What we are talking about, research and innovation, can allow us through the fraud desk, central fraud desk that Femi manages, to build a system that is digitally inclined, that can help that person without even reaching out to his bank through his mobile app or a particular website to track that fraud in spite of the number of banks they will have moved that money to, because they are saying the overall picture. They know the bank the fraudster is moving the money to. They know his family members. So if you're a family member of a fraudster now, and you know that your brother is doing small Yahoo, and he wants to be transferring the money to your account, please tell your brother that, my brother, hold on first. Don't move this money to me. First move it to mommy. Let mommy be the one to move it to me, because I don't want problem. Let them arrest you people's mommy first before they get to you, you know. So things that research and development, research and innovation can help us to achieve in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I want to direct the next question to the Deputy Director, Mr. Gbenga. So how can different stakeholders, including the operators, the regulators, law enforcement, industry experts, community leaders, the general public, how can all these stakeholders collaborate to combat fraud in society?
Thank you for the question. Just as my other speakers have said, when you look at the system, you have the operator who uses the system. You have the operator in form of banks, fintechs. They also operate that system to ensure that customers can do their transaction. Everyone has a part to play to prevent fraud. The regulator too is expected to put in place regulation and ensure that people comply, the operators comply with the regulation, and also put in place penalties where there are no compliance. For example, sometimes some years ago, the CBN amended BOFIA, the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act, to bring in stiffer penalties against banks. This to discourage banks from non-compliance. Likewise, the banks too have a role to play. The fintech people have a role to play. We saw the presentation that OP made. They improved on their technology, they improved on their surveillance, and they were able to cut down fraud. So the operators too must do something that will ensure that fraud will be difficult to perpetrate. Also, the community leaders can help. For example, the religious leaders in their churches, in their mosques, they can preach against fraud. even in the community, we should not encourage somebody who just come to the village. You see some young people during December, they come to the village and they are just spending money. I don't want to mention a particular tribe whereby if you cannot bring a particular amount of money, you can't even talk in family meeting. When somebody is coming, there was a particular advert that was going on then that, do you have Ajue Suzuki? I don't know how many of us listen to that advert. What does that mean? For that person to speak in a meeting, they say he must have Ajue Suzuki, which means he must have money, which means they don't even care how he gets the money. So the community too can help to prevent fraud in a way that they don't encourage people to come around and spend money and then they start eulogizing somebody because he's spending money. And then everybody must ensure that in one way or the other, we contribute our own quota. Even customers that banks have sent alerts to, that don't share your information, don't click links, you see them clicking. Even when the bank has done this, so even the customers have to be very, very vigilant that when you receive a short message, you don't just go ahead and start acting. You need to be careful. You may need to call your customer, your account officer. Many of us don't even know our account officer. And that you are supposed to know your account officer in case there is an issue. You can simply call the account officer. It happened to me a particular time. I just discovered I don't even know my account officer. Until I had an issue and I have to go to the bank, and then I now got the information. So if I want to do anything, I call my account officer. If I something strange that I don't understand, I call the account officer. Also, the law enforcement agent, the police, they have a role to play too. Something happened of recent. A sister of mine, the house was burgled, and they stole the handset. And that same midnight, that same night, they stole money from the account. We were able to get information on the owner of that account, and then we go to the police, and they demanded that we buy fuel in their vehicle. Even after doing that, they demanded money for lunch. It was until I came back to the office and took police from our office that were able to get through this and able to get back the money. So we said everybody has a role to play, but we must play this role in collaboration. If any of the parties not doing what they're supposed to do, the fraud will still go. So everybody should also come up with what they should know what to do and do what they're supposed to do to prevent fraud. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So just driving that. I want to come back to Mr. Jibade. So I know we've mentioned that we should the community has a role to play. So, but is there any way we can empower these communities and individuals, giving them the right tools, right knowledge, so on these cybersecurity threats, and in a way to pass it to the public? So, what ways can we empower these communities and empower individuals? Because we've seen that we send them these messages, but it seems they are not responding. Is there any way we can empower them in addition to what we are currently doing?
Okay, thank you again. Again, I will refer to what Festus said about God speaking to Adam. If God Almighty can talk to Adam and he still didn't listen, I don't know how much we can speak to our customers so that they will listen. But we, as financial service providers, we have a role to play in assisting these customers. We will keep telling them, but then again, whether they listen or they don't listen, we have to build systems and processes that will assist them to be guided, to be safe-guided in all their transactions. I'll give you a typical example. On Alert, if you want to transfer money, even when you know your password to log in and your PIN, Alert will still request for a biometric authentication, which is your iris or a fingerprint, just to safeguard the customer. When you put in a password that it's your name, Alert is that very intelligent and smart to know that this is your name. A fraudster can easily guess it. So Alert will tell you that I'm not accepting that password from you. I'm sorry. I need a password that is case sensitive, capital and small, with special feature or alphanumeric password, just to safeguard the customer. So even when we keep telling you as a customer that there is this, there is that, we will still protect you. Alert has multi-factor authentication. And beyond that, yesterday, I was at a session in Abuja speaking to the judges. Today, if somebody defrauds you, the fraudster is aware that he has defrauded and the money is in your account. When you report it, the fraudster knows that your bank will block that account. The fraudster knows law. He knows that 72 hours later, the bank must release your account if you don't have a court order. I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about. that order takes 72 hours before the bank releases it. But in reality, for you to get a court order in Nigeria today, it takes 4 weeks. In fact, as a matter of fact, that amount that you give to a lawyer, you as an individual, you can't get it yourself as a Nigerian. You have to go through a lawyer. The minimum a lawyer can collect for you to get that court injunction is about 250,000 naira. If the fraud is a typical WhatsApp fraud, and then the person has sent a broadcast to all your contacts to say, oh, you are in the hospital, you are pregnant. Somebody that didn't see belly in your stomach will now start transferring 100,000 naira into that account. Before you know it, it's only the stingy ones among us that will call. I want to verify. Is that you do? Are you asking that money? But all of us that have good hearts, we will have first transfer that money first to the fraudster, not to take away from how security conscious we are, but we're just being emotional about this. So when the fraudster gets the money, when you block that account, they said, go and bring 250,000 naira to get court injunction. The money is 100,000 naira. We don't leave it for God. But if someone like me now, small big boy, if I lose 100,000 naira, maybe I won't cry too much. It's what 1 month I will drink the gari, and after 1 month I will forget. But imagine the average Nigerian on the street hustling. That 100,000 naira is his life savings. He's ready to naked himself in his banking hall to say, Lala, this is my 100,000 naira, you have to help me find it. So these are ways. Yesterday, when we were talking to the judges, I said, we have to review these things. And incidentally, they all agreed. We agreed there, and there that let's move that 72 hours to at the minimum 14 working days, which will give an average Nigerian time to get that court injunction. Then we spoke about the amount as well, and how best we can quickly terminate this. Though the judges agreed, but they are not the lawmakers. So we still have to take this thing to the National Assembly. And I'm sure that with the processes we are putting in place, we'll be able to get past this. These are part of ways that we can encourage the communities and individuals to assist them, even when they are not listening to us. We'll continue that financial literacy and scam awareness. No matter how much they are not listening to us, all of us collectively, we have to keep speaking about these things so that we can get there. And we need to find a way to give our customers the right tools to communicate to us. If there is a fraud, so we all need to start asking ourselves, today, if I am defrauded, how best can I report that to my bank? Some of us don't even know how best to report. We don't even know phone number of our bank. Like he mentioned, you don't know your account officer. In fairness, account officer cannot work again. Why? Because there are a lot of customers in bank. And you call account officer, account officer will just die. So we need to find smarter and more intelligent way to communicate to our bank. On alert today, if there's a fraud on your account, there's a place where you say, speak to the bank. So when you click on it, it gives you several options of chats on different social media, calls, emails that you can easily use to get in touch with the bank. There's a robot that can also speak to you on this that can make it more efficient. So we need to give our people ways to communicate to us as a bank. And the data privacy awareness. I like social media. Social media has actually helped us to build different businesses. And if you listen to the MD of Red Tech when he was talking in the morning, a lot of us are now no, it wasn't the MD of Red Tech. The other gentleman that spoke to Nathan, he said everybody has become CEO. It was the MC that said it. Everybody has become CEOs. That's social media that has made it possible. And in being CEOs, we need to keep entertaining our audience. We need to keep feeding them with several information. So some of us have gone out of our way to give our audience information that can help them harm us. We don't know the tips. Part of the people following you, 90% of them are fraudsters who are looking for you to give them more information about yourself. Some of us will now go and put our card details erroneously or innocently on social media. A fraudster will capitalize on all those things and then use it to defraud you. Now, what we are saying is that we need to keep those awareness, public awareness, keep going, and financial literacy programs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So I want to just direct that question as Festus. So we've heard a lot today about security features, biometric authentications, OTP. At times, these things may be overwhelming for the customers. Maybe it's at times frustrating that they can't just do their transaction. It's me. So how can organizations, banks, financial institutions balance these security measures with the good customer experience? In what ways can this be balanced?
All right, thank you. because oftentimes when we are building solutions, we think we are building the solution for ourselves. We are building these solutions for customers. I think the first thing we have to be doing more is to hear the customer perspective, because convenience is very, very important. There is need, if you are making food for someone, it's good to understand the recipe that works for the person. So we need to hear the customer more to be able to make our user interface more friendly. And at the end of the day, the customers will like what we are building. But in that conversation, we also need to let the customers see the need for security. I used to, maybe for new people in security, I used to tell them that why vehicles or cars or machines are built for speed. Any car without a brake cannot get to its destination. So yes, it's for speed, but one of the things we have to consider is to ensure that the brake is effective. Because if your brake is effective, you can increase your speed. But if you don't have any brake in the car, you will not be able to run as fast. And that is what security brings to the table. So having understood the customer's preference, then we need to put basic controls. At times, we need to even ask ourselves, why is fraud even more predominant in an environment like ours? It starts from our identity system, whereby you cannot say this person will constantly bear this identity. Today, we have seen different types of fraud, where people commit fraud. You think, oh, we have the BVN, but by the time you investigate that fraud, the person that had that BVN has never even been to the bank because his details were hijacked. And that is where this awareness we spoke about before also comes into play, because people sell their details, create BVN, and are used to open fraudulent accounts. So our identity system, it's not just BVN. An individual in Nigeria must be identified. Even if we cannot manage the old identity system, but going forward, how can we ensure that as a nation, every child born in this country has an identity that is traceable to him? Biometric is very, very important, because like we said, no matter the solution, no matter the awareness, people will make mistakes. So we must have some basic controls. Let our applications have that security by design, such that, and I remember when Justin was making his presentation, you look at different layers, there are controls in place. Onboarding is very, very important to make sure that the person you are onboarding is actually the customer. Otherwise, somebody can onboard another person using another person's detail. And before you know it, that account might be a source of fraud, because they will use such account to harvest proceeds of fraud. So having managed onboarding, we also need to make sure as an organization to make sure that our application development also follow best standards. Make sure that there's adequate threat modeling to understand the threat at each level. Because by the time we understand those threats at each level and the vulnerability that could occur, we'll be able to put adequate controls at each level, that should there be any mistake, there will not be loss of funds at the end of the day. One of the things we have also been discussing at industry-wide is also for us to look at laws that will make it difficult for a large amount of money to leave the system. Because no matter what you do, things can go wrong. And when it go wrong, what do you do? A situation whereby you transfer 10 million, in the next few hours, the 10 million is leaving on an account should not be acceptable. So there is need for us to at least talk to each other. Let us discuss among ourselves, look at what we can put at different layers so that we can balance this security and convenience. We don't want to fall to one side, too much to one side, because moderation is the key to life. If you want to listen so much to, oh, customer want their money immediately, but when the money is missing, customer also want you to recover the money. So there is need for us to also have some limit to say for an amount of, say, above certain threshold. It could be 10 million, it could be because our money has reduced in value. If not, I would have said like 1 million. There should be some hours for due diligence to be carried out before that money will be allowed to be withdrawn from the system. And if there's no regulation, thank God CBN is ably represented here. If there's no such regulation, no bank will want to do it because it will now become a marketing tool. Oh, your bank is delaying my transaction. And meanwhile, the other bank, whenever money comes in, you can withdraw it easily. So we need to look at all those, put adequate controls, make sure we layer artificial intelligence in our applications to ensure that human behaviors are known. And when you see any behavior that does not correspond with the behavior of the customer you used to know, then you stop even the access. Like different banks have put different solutions in place to make sure that if the behavior, the login details of profiling the device of any customer that want to gain access to their platform, if there's any variation to what you used to, then you block the fraudster from coming into the system. So I think if we put all these controls in place and also listen more to our customers and tell them reason why security should be in place, because whatever control we are putting in place is just to secure their fund, I think we can have a better solution at the end of the day. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I just want to throw this next question to Deputy Director. So I know this session now, we have a private sector here, we have public sector. How can public and private sector collaborate to develop effective fraud preventive strategies that are comprehensive enough?
The public sector, when you look at the public sector, you are talking about the regulator, the CBN, NDIC, EFCC. They are supposed to put in place regulations and also monitor compliance with those regulations. In doing that, that's what we normally do, that if we're going to bring out any regulation, there will be an exposure draft that will be shared with the operators before it comes out finally, such that the operators, the banks, the fintechs can also contribute. Before we roll out any regulation, we always discuss with them. They will also bring in their views. Where we need to make amendments, we make amendments. So we collaborate in that way. Also, the operators too, they have a role to play. Whatever regulation that CBN has rolled out, is their duty to ensure compliance. It's their duty to ensure that their customers that operate the system also operate the system in accordance with the standards that they set in guidelines. Also, the public, the community, or what you talked about the operator and the operator and which other?
Operators, regulator, community.
Okay, the community. The community too has a role to play. Like I said the other time, the community should not encourage fraud. The community should also help in educating, especially the young ones, this issue of always looking for fast way of making money. A lot of people lost their money to CBEX, not quite long. And if you check, you see that most of the people that lost money on CBEX were young people because they were looking for a faster way of making money. I had a friend that lost about, I think, a younger, very young person lost about 10 million. So the community should discourage youths and other people from looking for money in a way that make them go into fraud. So all the stakeholders must come together and then come in terms of the fact that fraud will not help the system. Whatever role each person is supposed to play, they should play that role to ensure that fraud is reduced. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I want to thank all the panelists for this session. It's been really insightful. I also want to encourage everyone here that fraud prevention is not just for the financial institutions, it's not just for law enforcement, it's not just for regulations, it's for all of us. So we must all ensure that we enforce community guidelines. We should not encourage fraudsters. We should identify them and call them out for what it is. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for the esteemed moderator and the distinguished panelists. Please let's put our hands together for our panelists as they make their way back to their seats. Thank you very much. We're slowly approaching the last panel session of today with the theme Gender Diversity and Inclusive FinTech Growth. But before we get there, we have a few sponsor presentations as we continue to appreciate the organizations driving digital finance forward. We welcome presentations from two industry leaders. These presentations promise fresh insights into the tools powering financial inclusion across our dear continent of Africa. Please, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the Vice President of WiseCard Technologies, Mr. Kevin Yee. Please, let's put our hands together for Mr. Kevin Yee, Vice President, WiseCard Technologies. Mr. Kevin Yee is coming all the way from Beijing, China, so exercise some patience. We would also, after Mr. Kevin Yee, I believe we have another presentation, sponsored presentation from the marketing manager, D-Spread, Mr. Shu Chulin. I hope you're all having a great time. I hope you're networking, making the right connections, and soaking in everything you've gotten from the 2 days we've spent here at the Digital Pay Expo. Don't worry, today won't be as long as yesterday. I mean, it's typical for day one of any event of this caliber. You have the opening ceremony, lots of speeches, but today is very business-like. Okay, we have Mr. Kevin Yee here, Vice President, WiseCard Technologies. Please, let's put our hands together for him as he makes his way to the podium. Thank you.
This is the... Thank you. Thank you very much. This is my third time to be here to have this presentation. I'm Kevin Yee from WiseCard. Before I start the presentation, I wanted to ask today, how many of you guys are using the contactless payment options to perform the transactions? For example, like your mobile, like your wristband, or like the rings. Okay, raise your hand. Is it possible? Anybody? Okay, 1, 2. Just 2 of us. Okay, so where to get there? Okay, I'm number 3. Okay, yes. So today, let's see, I would like to have a presentation about the future of contactless payments. Where are we going? And also, we would like us also to share some of the insights for the research based on the Nigerian market. Okay. First, allow me to have a 30 seconds commercials. So I'm from WiseCard. We are providing the payment solutions for central banks, as well as the issuers and acquirers from the cars, terminals, as well as the payment settlement. Okay. So currently we have been working with let's say more than 150 banks worldwide and in more than 65 countries and regions. Okay. So speaking about the payment, I'm not just an entrepreneur, I'm also angel capital. So we look at things from the vertical as well as the horizontal way. and we look at the track record. For the payment methods we have been using is like from the magnetic stripe card, we move to the contact chip and PIN, and then we go to the contactless during the phase. And now I can see that in Nigeria, we have a lot of mobile wallets, as well as the contactless payments by using the wearables and the contactless payment options. So based on this, my focus will be on what will be the next generation payment options available. And even I myself, I prepared some samples with me to show you how it works. According to the statistics that we have done for the global trends on the contactless payments, we assume that by 2027, in total, there will be like 10 trillion worth of the transactions will be done through the contactless interface, which means that we can have, let's see, 50% of the in-person transactions globally will be contactless. And which are the options available, and also which we think that will be the major stream for this trend. So here I have put a few options here. One is the smartwatch and wristband. Second is the smart ring, which I have it here with me. We can put a contactless chip inside with the antenna. So it means that in the future, we can just lock and pay. And the third one is like the smart glasses. We have put this chip on your glass. And not only, let's see, it's not like the biometric payment. We use the iris or the facial recognition. Is we put some chips on the glass itself. And let's see, why do we think that it's moving to these directions? There are possibly three, let's see, reasons for this. The first one is everyone knows that just after the COVID, let's see, we need to keep a bit distance with each other. And also we need to use the mobile or internet much more than before, especially, let's see, in Asia. I'm not so sure if you know, let's see, we stay together in our own house for 3 years, and we cannot, let's see, touch with each other. So we use more on the mobile and digital lifestyle. And second one is NFC. It's changing the world, especially the RFID things for the, we call this Internet of Things. You can imagine that, let's see, in Asia, some of the factories, we have the tags and names and labels for each and every item in our factory, or let's see in the warehouse. Everything is labeled, and we don't need any human control on this. And it will be all automatically recognized and read on this. And for the payment, it's the same. I'm not so sure if you see we have done based on, let's see, if you walk in, we have your facial recognition or iris. And of course, even let's see, what we're doing is we have the vein to measure that the transactions is done properly through live body for this. Okay. The next one is let's see. Let's talk about Nigeria here in Africa as well. You know, I have been in this region every year, I think 4 or 5 times, from West Africa to East, South, and North. Start from 2019, before the COVID, up until 2023, we can see that the cash transactions has dropped drastically from 91% to 55%. Yes, the public still, we prefer the cash transactions because it's easier for them. And about 30% of the population here is banked. We have 240 million population here. So in total, we have only 60 to 70 million population here. But it will grow very fast. And we noticed that some of the reasons that is having some issues to promote this. Let's see how it is. 2 major factors. Number one, smartphone. 61% of the population here, we are using a smartphone. We assume that they will be the major stream to drive the contactless transactions here in this country, tap and go. No matter it's through Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Samsung Pay, or Huawei Pay, or any other payments, or even SE, we have over 200 MFP here in Nigeria. And we assume that they will be the major stream to promote this contactless transactions in the next phase. And just like I mentioned, the bank card penetration is about 35%. These people is going to be the next generation to promote for different factors for the contactless payment. Some of the risks that we have, when I see potential obstacles that we have, one is the infra. Just imagine 20 years ago when you were here in Nigeria, we have 2G network. But after, let's see, a few years, start from 5 years ago, we start to jump. We go from 2G, 3G, 4G. Actually, the 3G is longer time, but 4G is very short. After that, we immediately go to 5G. The infrastructure gaps were becoming smaller, and the consumers, especially the bloggers and TikTok, is becoming more and more popular. The contactless transactions is, let's see, get more and more attentions. Third one is the security concerns. Even as I talk to some of the banks, they ask me, Kevin, if we have this ring with me, how are you going to ensure that it's secure? So actually, this is a EMV chip inside. We can load the Visa, MasterCard, Verve, or Afrigo app inside. Just imagine this is your bank card, and it's lock and pay. And no wearable penetration. This is more on the smartphones. I can see that a lot of the, let's say, banks or let's say the phone vendors, they are trying to penetrate, especially like the Infinity or let's say the transmission, they are trying to do this approach. And financial inclusion. This is something that I want to highlight, which is regarding the MFP here in Nigeria. We assume that they are going to play a vital role in the next stage for the contactless transactions. Next one. So what we are doing here, let's say we would like to share one reference here. It's like a open loop transaction platform. So what we're doing is we have the front end, the rings, wearables, as well as the mobile wallet. Based on this is a backend platform. We call this the Trust Service Manager. And this platform is used to help the consumers to do the instant personalization updates and the transactions. Oh, okay. And this will explain some of the questions that we have from the banks. How do we ensure their security? The security is, let's say, from different levels. On the front end, the chips is EMV certified chips, and it's at least the EAL5 plus. It's the same standard as the EMV chip or your banking cards. From the back end, we have I think the top HSMs and the key management scheme to do the key encryption and the key management. And especially, for EMV transactions, we are now adapting to the AES algorithm, which means that it will be even more secure for the next generation. Second one is, we have a dedicated division for the artificial intelligence. So we're trying our best to prevent the fraud, okay? And the stability, all the systems that we're delivering is based on the micro-governance. It will be much easier, and there will be no time for you to, there's no downtime, okay? There's no maintenance time, okay? It's always expanding simultaneously. Some of the user scenarios that we have done, let's see, in Southeast Asia for this kind of the open platform. One is this kind of the ring or wearables is used for public transit. So you don't need to get your wallet out, take out your card, and then to tap and pay. Use your ring or watch. And for the retail campus, it's more for the access control, healthcare, as well as the corporate business. They are using this kind of the solutions as well. I think I'm almost out of time. So the conclusion is like contactless payment technology integrates with the wearables, represents an advanced coverage of finance and technology. And we believe that the future of payments is not just by using the ID for your card from the bank. It could be, let's see, on your wrist, on your finger, as well as maybe sewing into your clothes, okay? That's all from my side for the day for this presentation. And we have some samples with us on our booth, A1. Feel free to take a look, all right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Kevin Yee, Vice President, WiseCat Technologies. And as he said, they have a booth here at the exhibition. If you have more questions and you want to interact and see some of their products, you are free to go there after this conference. I'm really interested in seeing how much level of adoption wearable technology would have in Nigeria, knowing how we have serious trust issues. But who knows? Who thought we were going to adopt technology and all these things how many years ago? So you never know what the future holds, especially those that are in downfall bosses. You might just be making transactions by sitting close to your neighbor, but I'm sure they have a solution to that. Before we get into our last panel session for today, we have another sponsored presentation, this time from the marketing manager at D-Spread, Mr. Shu Chulin. Miss Shu Chulin, sorry, I'm Nigerian. We don't understand gender when it comes to names in Chinese. My apologies. Xie.
I'm happy to be the last presentation before the lunch. Hope it will be a nice appetizer for all of you. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chelsea from D-Spread, a Chinese leading provider of mobile POS and smart POS company. We also have a booth here in Digital Pay Expo just next doors. If you have any questions about my presentation or about our hardware, please do not hesitate to visit us at booth B4. So today, I'd like to talk about POS connectivity in Africa and rethink eSIM as a flexible deployment options. To kick off my presentation, let's start with a scenario. Picture this: we have a bank manager, Mr. D. Yes, Mr. D is for D-Spread. Recently, Mr. D has made a very big move. He purchases thousands of POS devices, probably 10Ks. And now he's ready to deploy them across Nigeria or any other countries in Africa. We are talking about everything from big cities to remote villages, from supermarket chains to neighborhood convenience stores. This is everything but simple. So let's put ourselves in Mr. D's shoes. Let's help him to think about what he's going next to consider to make this deployment a success. Mr. D now faces a series of complex tasks when it comes to the connectivity of his POS devices. First of all, he needs to source reliable telecommunication providers that covers all the countries. This involving negotiating with multiple mobile providers and ensure that each region has the